Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And last night was the season premiere of Friday Night SmackDown. After 5 long years, it returned to the USA Network, and what a show it was. We've got so much to talk about today, but you know what I say. For a great show, we need a great panel, and boy, oh boy, do we have one. Let's kick things off with Shad. How are you today, Shad?
What's going on, Ben? I came in last second. I needed an extra filling spot, and I ain't gonna lie to you. I was so hyped watching last night's SmackDown. The moment I saw that there was an open slot, I ran to the chair like I was playing some musical chairs, and I picked it up because, man, we got a lot to talk about last night, and I'm hyped to talk it with y'all.
Absolutely. It was certainly a newsworthy episode. And also joining us, we have the head of opinion at Wrestling Republic. How are you today, Anthony?
I'm doing all right. This is the second week in a row that I had to watch SmackDown on Saturday because there was something that I wanted to watch Friday night. Other than that, last week it was the Eagles. Last night was Victory Road. But it was a great show. But I always find it humorous whenever they go season premiere. That implies that there was a season finale. You're on every week, so I don't really know how exactly you have season premieres, but okay. But yeah, it was a fun show and a hot kickoff to the USA Network era.
Absolutely, it was. And I remember I said the exact same thing as you last year, Anthony. And Clark said that it's something to do with the American TV schedules, that all the yearly shows, that 1 week were that's the season premiere week. I don't get it, but apparently that's what it is. And apparently it was this week.
It depends on the network. Some of them start earlier, some of them start later.
Okay, well that makes sense.
They tend to start around this all the time though, so it makes sense. I agree with y'all 100%. It's not like I don't even like what closed off last. It was the series finale of Fox. You can say that much.
At least for now.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens next. That is for sure. But as one door closes, another one opens, and that door for Cody Rhodes seems to lead directly to Roman Reigns, because of course last night in the steel cage match on SmackDown, Cody retained against Solo Sikoa. And I think everybody predicted that something, controversial was going to happen. It wasn't going to be clean. And then Roman would come and save Cody and help him, accidentally help him retain or whatever you want to call it, But it wasn't even that. Cody retained. It was as simple as that. He retained cleanly. And then after the match, the Bloodline then interfered. They took out Cody Rhodes. Roman Reigns came out, made the save. Later in the night, Solo Sikoa, and this was the only strange part, made the challenge to Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. So he was the one who said, hey, I want to face both of you along with Jacob. That's the only strange bit, I think, that I'm still struggling to understand. But the actual match, Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, is now official for Bad Blood. And guys, I predicted it. I predicted this match. Everybody in the comments was calling me crazy. I said it, and it has happened. And I'm excited to see it happen. Anthony, what was your thoughts about this entire situation last night?
It is funny with the Solo Sikoa thing. I get the overconfidence. When you have Jacob Fatu as your tag partner, of course you're going to be overconfident. You look at the 4 guys and you're like, one of these is not like the other, and that's Solo, because Solo's not really a star, or not a main event talent. In truth, in my opinion, could he be? Maybe. I enjoyed the steel cage match. It was probably one of the rarest steel cage matches that, it's designed to keep the people that are in the match inside the cage and keep everyone out. And it's one of the rare ones where there's a stable and nobody got involved during the match, which was nice. I personally have never been a fan of the WWE rule of escaping the cage, because that's not the original one. The original one was keeps everybody in, pinfall or submission inside the cage. Everyone stays in. I've always preferred that because I think it makes more sense. Climbing over the top really doesn't make sense when there's a door. Nobody's stopping you from going out the door. But I love the visual after the match that the members of the Bloodline are climbing up the cage. Like that visual was just very cool because they really embraced this savageness and just it's like a pit bulls, like ready to tear somebody apart. They're like hyenas looking to chew Cody apart. Obviously, Roman came out, which was great. Obviously, that it's um, the unlikely partner, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type deal, which was great. Roman calling out Jacob, and let's be real, Jacob and Roman is the match of any member of the bloodline. If Roman's going against Jacob's, the one people want to see. I don't think anybody wants to see the Solo one because no one believes Solo has a shot at beating Roman. Jacob, you're like, okay, that's possible. Jacob could definitely, and it's believable, and the crowd loves him. And I do want to say, how much of a freak is Jacob Fatu? That like he was in a boot a few weeks ago, and now he's doing moonsaults and climbing the tops of cages. What is his healing factor? Is he Wolverine at this point? Like what? Like really? Joe, I'm very much looking forward to this whole dynamic. And obviously this is probably going to a War Games at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And yeah, Jacob Fatu's clearly taken some inspiration from John Cena with how quickly he's returning from injuries. That is for sure. I do love that shout, Anthony, about what you said about the steel cage. I've always hated that too. The ability to be able to escape, it's senseless. Thankfully, that didn't really come into play last night. There was a moment where it almost did, but thankfully it did not. But yeah, it's really, really exciting. I'm going to be honest with you. I do almost think that Solo has a possibility to beat Roman Reigns. And that possibility, I think, does center around The Rock. I think that would the only way he could win is if The Rock helped him or something like that.
No, but like when you look at it, if Jacob beat him straight up, nobody would be going, "Oh, that's unbelievable." That's believable.
Okay. Fair, good point.
So Solo beating him without outside interference is not believable in my opinion. He has the worst win-loss record of anybody, and he's gotten multiple world title shots.
That's true. You're not wrong there at all. From a kayfabe perspective, you're bang on correct about it. I mean, Shad, what did you think about this entire Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, can they coexist story on last night's SmackDown?
Yeah, well, this was a big moment, and kudos to you, bro. You did predict it correctly. I got Ben spinning the block on Instagram, getting all y'all haters in the comments, making sure y'all know
The eye
that he got it
emojis.
right. Yeah, the eyeball emojis and all, but I think it's the most intriguing thing because I normally am whatever about can they coexist, but in story, this is one of the most sensible can they coexist storylines that you can create. The New Age bloodline has taken Roman Reigns out and demanded authority of the title of being tribal chief, taking over the bloodline and all that. And they also have been the thorn on Cody's side. So, in a sense, it makes sense that yes, they should have to work together to beat these guys, but there's that underlying tension between them that Roman Reigns' historical title reign ended to Cody Rhodes. And even yesterday, when Roman came out talking for the first time, I believe, cutting a promo since he's returned, saying that this is my WWE, and Cody letting him know it was, but not after WrestleMania. I thought that was telling. I thought that really did strike a nerve, and I'm super, super curious to see if they can coexist because there's a lot of things going on. We're in Atlanta, so part of you wants to think maybe Cody needs to get the win in his home state, or maybe someone else can get the win. And I think I'm going to touch on exactly what Anthony was bringing up. If you notice the booking of the bloodline, Solo is very protective of Jacob Fatu. He is literally the only member he truthfully cares about when you think about it. He's the one that pulled him out of the cage to not go against Roman. He knows the nature of how much of a beast he is, and he doesn't want him to get tarnished or hurt. They are keeping this gentleman really, really strong to a point where they took him away from the tag title just because they may not even want him to, besides the injury standpoint, they may not even want him to get take a loss with it because he doesn't need to take a loss at the current juncture of time. I think we have a strong possibility of Jacob Fatu being the main focal star. I think Solo is booked like this, taking losses, kind of being a overzealous, over egotistical, powerful leader, and it always coming to his demise. And Jacob may be the one that course corrects it. I think the best thing that you could do is Jacob Fatu getting a pin over Roman Reigns 1-2-3 in Atlanta at Bad Blood. Roman doesn't need to be near the championship just yet. It's a tag team match, and you instantly strap a rocket onto him, and you create your next main event star. Because I'm on the same hype train as Anthony is right now. Maybe it's because we both Eagles fans, but I see Jacob Fatu as the guy who could beat Cody Rhodes for that title. He's been that dude in professional wrestling for a while. It was just us getting him to a big stage company. Now that he's here, the star power, the talent, everything, he hasn't even scratched the surface of what he can do. So I think you can really do something interesting with that. But I don't know. I don't know if they can coexist. I think there is going to be a sense of they will work together and it might work, but this is not the last rodeo we have this feud. I think this feud is going to extend, especially towards Survivor Series, and I think that's where the good guys might get the win. But there'll be some sort of friction because I think Cody and Roman 2.0 should happen at some point. So we'll see.
Absolutely. No, I do agree with you there, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, that shout you made, Jacob Fatu being the one to dethrone Cody, that would be sick. No doubt about it. And it is just interesting to think about, whether or not perhaps, I don't know. I don't think I can see Roman Reigns being pinned. I don't think that's going to happen. I can't believe it.
Jacob is the one guy that, in all seriousness, if they did a triple threat with Roman and Cody and him, he's the one guy believable that could stack them both and do the Roman thing that Roman did to Edge and Bryan Danielson. And you could totally see Solo doing the Christian route of going, I won the title. And Jacob be like, no. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the one. He's the one guy that I think you could see that happen with.
Oh, no. You've just given me an idea now, though, Anthony. Please don't let this happen. And I don't think this will happen, but just please don't let it happen. Don't have Solo versus Cody 3. And in that match, Jacob Fatu cost Cody the title. And literally, it'd be like a no disqualifications thing. Jacob Fatu completely takes out Cody. Solo wins, and they literally do the Christian Cage thing.
No.
I can see that.
Solo is definitely not holding that title. It's either Roman, Brock, or Jacob. Those are the three that are the most likely of that group. That would
of that group.
Of that group. I mean, at this point, I don't think Cody losing it to Kevin Owens or Jacob Fatu would hurt Cody at all. To be honest.
Yeah.
No, you are right there.
I've always said it. I feel maybe besides Roman, and it just goes off of how amazing character work he's done, I gotta always give him the number one mark. But at the current juncture of that family right now, he's right after Roman. I think he's above the talent of the Usos, Solo. Like he's that good.
You know who got lost the moment he came in was Tama Tonga, because Tama Tonga was like the breakout one when they brought him in. You're like, oh, and he's still up there.
He's looked great too since he's come in.
Of the new bloodline, it's Jacob, Tama Tonga, Solo by default, and then Tonga Loa is last. Like that's kind of where it is.
Oh, he's had a rough time, Tonga. He really, really has. It's not been great to see. But Tama Tonga, on the other hand, I think actually because of how great Jacob Fatu's looked, not enough people are talking about how good Tama Tonga's looked, because even his selling, like his work, he's done everything perfectly. But I am going to go back to something which you said, Shad, because you pointed out about, how potentially there could be a little bit of, tensions between Solo and Jacob Fatu down the road. And I could see that happening because when they started this storyline, I thought all along it was going to be in a long-term War Games match, which will probably be next year, not this year. I always thought it was going to be Solo Sikoa, Hikuleo, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa versus Roman Reigns, the Usos, Jacob Fatu, and then maybe Zilla Fatu or something as well. Basically, The Rock and the Tongans versus the Fatus. That's essentially what I thought it was going to be. Pardon?
I didn't catch that from Shad. Yeah, I mean, I think
I think he's frozen.
Did I freeze?
Oh, I don't know.
No, you're back now. You're back now.
Okay, my bad. I froze for a second. My fault.
I agree with you, Ben. I do think originally I thought original Bloodline against Savage Line. If they drag this a whole nother year, if the rumors hold of who they're allegedly going up against, maybe they save it for next year. This year it might just be a mixed bag of Savage Line enemies.
Yeah.
Cody, Roman, maybe Orton and KO. If they go for
Sammy and Jay, let's do it.
But I think Sammy and Jay, if they hold it till next year, like if they do it at the following Survivor Series, maybe then they'll do that. I would love to see them do it this year, but for a weird reason, I weirdly think they may hold it off for a year.
Yeah, you could well be right. Personally, I still think this year it's going to happen. Like I've said quite a few times, I think it's going to be Cody, Roman, Jay, Sammy, and Jimmy this year against the new Bloodline, whatever you want to call them. And I still will stand by that, but I think next year's when it's going to have The Rock in. That's when I think it'll be like the biggest Survivor Series of all time, or however they'll market it. I think that's going to be the match, the end of their feud.
We don't even know where it's going to be, like the location. Like the location may be telling. Like if it's a major location, they, if it's in
stadium,
if it's in LA or if it's in New York, they're going there.
It's in Samoa.
They totally should do that. They really should.
Bloodline rules there. Let's do it. But it's always been interesting too, because it was The Rock's. I might be wrong, but I believe it's The Rock's father who brought in the Tongans to the family and said, you're part of the family now, officially. And perhaps there could be some tensions there, because I've always thought since this storyline started, which is why I was so confused when Jacob Fatu joined Solo side, that, hey, there's a natural story you can tell there. And perhaps that's still where they're going to go to. We have Roll Tide 1990 in the chat saying, great job, keep it up with the good work. Thank you so much. And we've also got a couple of comments here. Bobby Petito says, I'm thinking Hikuleo will show up in the next month or so in WWE. I think that could well happen. We know he's left New Japan. That's been the story in New Japan. He's not signed anywhere yet, as far as we know. So it could be fascinating, and I think it'll happen.
Bad Blood would be my guess. If it's not Bad Blood, it's Survivor Series.
Yeah, Bad Blood, guess. And then we can't forget though about Crown Jewel too, because Roman's going to be on that show 1000%.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's too much money involved for him not to be in it.
Yeah,
but
I could see him and Solo on that show.
That's what I was thinking. But it'd be I honestly think I'll call this right here too, an early prediction. I think Roman Reigns is going to lose to Solo Sikoa at Crown Jewel if they do have a singles match, and that's what's going to lead to the War Games. And it's not going to be clean at all. It's going to be the most rubbish thing ever. But it'll happen.
That could be the Hikuleo. It could easily be that.
Yeah, and then that's the one, and then they get everyone back together. Yeah, I think that's probably how it's going to go down.
I think it is telling that they invaded NXT. And they're on all the posters for Raw and stuff. I think once they start invading Raw, because it's going to happen, that's when you get a Sammy or a Jay. But prior to that, they're not going to want to get involved. They're like, I'm out.
But Cody's the one factor we can't forget about, and Jay still owes him a favor.
Cody is tied to both Sammy and Jay, and he's the one guy that could get them.
Yeah, it is going to certainly be interesting. But now let's move on to the next topic. Let's talk about Randy Orton, because he returned last night. He helped Kevin Owens. It was so predictable. It was so obvious. Obviously, that was going to happen. What was not predictable was Ricky, because Ricky made his debut before. Well, was about to make his debut Then Randy Orton stole it all. I was fuming, to be honest with you. I don't understand why they did this angle at all, because it took away from Orton's return. And the entire match, all anybody could think about was Ricky, and I want to see
he
more
was
of him.
over too.
He was so over. Ridiculously over. It was just we want Ricky chants the entire match. I did a tweet about it on our Twitter. It's had like the most views we've ever had, I think, on a tweet. It's just been crazy. But Anthony, I want to get your thoughts on Randy Orton returning, helping Kevin Owens defeat A-Town Down Under, and of course, the involvement of Ricky.
I mean, this may be a spoiler, but Ricky was formerly known as Vacant. Multiple time champion all over the wrestling world. No, but seriously, like he may be another James Ellsworth, where it's like it's the guy that's not supposed to get over and somehow gets over. Prior to that, maybe Gilbert might be a good analogy, where it's like a guy that he's never going to win, but for some reason the crowd gravitates towards him. It will be interesting to see if they bring him back or if it's a one-off. Vince would probably bring him back, but I don't know if Hunter would. But this is kind of one of those things where it's like we've seen KO and Orton against A-Town Down before, or some variation of it. I don't really have much interest in it. The A-Town Down thing, I feel like every week we're going over this, saying why are they still together? Like you keep teasing it, and then they team up the next week like it's nothing happened. You need to do something here, because the longer this drags out and Theory doesn't pull the trigger, you're losing more and more valuable time on the last ditch to try to save that guy's career. Because at this point, his brand is so damaged from over the years of repackaging and redoing things. And obviously the Vince departure hurt a long portion of him, but he's been in NXT twice. They've done things with him. It's just not working. The KO thing, I think a lot of it stems from, not to get into the weeds here, but I think a lot of it stems from they don't know what they want to do with him, because don't know if he's going to resign. So like you can't really get behind somebody if they're like, I'm out. Like you can't really do that. And Orton, I think they're just biding their time, because eventually they're probably going to go Orton Cody at some point. So it's at this point, it's just trying to find stuff for KO and Orton to do until they're able to figure out what they want to do or when they want to pull the trigger on stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And that was kind of what this match felt like. It felt like a heel turn somewhere, or a turn somewhere from one of these four guys was inevitable. Because like you said, A-Town Down Under, they're teasing the turn every other minute. Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, I mean, talking about can people coexist? Long term, no way can they coexist. Yet no turns happened. And it was just like the most notable thing about this segment was Ricky. And that was it.
I want to know, did Ricky deserve the turn? Because KO made it a point that he's the only person
I don't think he did deserve the turn.
The only person that he's turned on that said didn't deserve it was Kofi. I want to know if Ricky joins Ricky joins that exclusive club, or he deserved it because KO didn't like the way he looked at him. I want to know.
Oh, he didn't deserve anything. All Ricky deserves is the WWE Championship. He deserves that. But all of you guys who are watching this show deserve Next Level. Why? Well, let me talk to you, because Next Level have taken all our social media links from across all our social media platforms and put them in one place. And that one place is nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms linked all in one place. They've also got an app, and if you download their app, there's a special section on their app dedicated to just professional wrestling, just wrestling-related creators. And also, if you click that link right now, I think they're still doing a giveaway for a Next Level custom championship belt as well. So make sure you guys do that. It's completely free. You got nothing to lose. All our social media links all in one place. But now let's move on to the next topic. Well, before we do, we have a comment here from Bobby Petito saying, how about Ricky having a match on NXT every Tuesday? Yes, please. Let's get Ricky on NXT. Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. people on Twitter said that WWE needs to sign somebody named Ricky, and I think that's the Ricky that they
Yeah, it
have been
needs to be
talking
him.
about. It's definitely him. Yeah,
The only relevant rookie in professional wrestling right now. But
can't think
talking
of another
about
one. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't name another. But talking about people who are relevant, Andrade is the new #1 contender for the United States Championship. He will be facing LA Knight for the belt. He defeated Melo Hayes last night in another banger. I mean, these guys will just have bangers till the end of time. I said it on Allison Analysis today, and I'll say it again now. I do not think they're done because I think Melo is going to cost Andrade his US title opportunity. I then think they're going to do a triple threat match, and then I think they're going to do a 6th and 7th match. But Shad, I want to get your thoughts on this entire situation.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have enjoyed the idea of them having a series of matches, just kind of like how we have sports, like playoffs. I don't have an issue with it. His name is Melo. Carmelo Hayes, Carmelo Anthony. It's in his DNA, man. You know, the tools to the head type of situation. But I I said it yesterday on Twitter. I think this has been some of the best stuff Andrade has done in his career the last few years. I think the feud with Carmelo Hayes has streamlined a lot of great matches between both guys. Yesterday, not being any short of it. I like the idea that these guys are just competing to the utmost degree where there's got to be a winner at the end of the day within the series. Now, if this is the end of it last night, it being 5, I'm cool with it. I don't have an issue with it. I think the mid card title does need competitors for LA Knight. I think Andrade is a very incredible professional wrestler. I think he's like one of the best in regards to in-ring abilities, especially people coming back into the WWE. But the only thing missing is that they just haven't got him a character. Let me say a character. They just haven't booked him to a point where the fans have felt invested. And I think a lot of that is because he's been a babyface. I think Andrade needs to go back to being heel. I think the best we've seen him character wise is when him and another person who I think needs to go back to being heel to Zelina Vega. I think having them paired together, having a Zelina Vega is so underrated in regards to what she could do. Like that's the type of stuff she could do. But even if he doesn't have her as a talking piece, like he's got the look of a heel. He come in with the flashy suits, the jewelry. He talk a lot of cash stuff. I think that's what you need to do, especially going into LA Knight. But I do agree with you. I think this is going to lead to a triple threat match, and I'm cool with it. These guys are competitors for LA Knight. Not everybody could be the champion at all times. So that's just kind of the cards they're dealt at the moment. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, you are absolutely right there. And Bobby Petito's got a great comment here I want to read out. He's saying that he likes the Andrade and Carmelo Hayes series, and he wants them to do a similar thing like they did with Sheamus and Cesaro. I mean, absolutely. I'm surprised that they've not made that a thing already. I thought they were going to announce a best of 7, like a couple of matches into this feud, but they've just not announced it. And they're up to number 5 now. But hey, let's do another 2. Why not?
It's like a silent best of series. Like we all
Yeah,
know it. We all know it's a thing. They just are not acknowledging it.
But the graphic they
exactly.
put like a 3, like a tie 2-2, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah,
They
saying?
yeah.
did.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I,
Yeah, they're just not calling it that.
yeah,
But they're doing it.
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'm a big NBA fan, so I like when you have, and I like how they've been doing it too, where Andrade got the pickup lead 2-0, and then Melo came back winning the next
Hmm.
two.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind, like you said, if they do another 7, Melo comes back, and then we get a game set, and then you could make it like a ladder match or something like
Oh,
something
It,
like
yeah.
it
that to
That'll be a
end it off.
banger.
it's adding to the U.S. title picture, and I'm okay with that because we saw them build up the Intercontinental title. The U.S. title deserves that too, and obviously it's a different way than they did with the IC because the IC was Gunther, the dominant champion. LA Knight is not a dominant champion because he just won the thing, but you could kind of trade it back and forth, and I don't think it would hurt LA Knight. Some people may think it would, but I think it's about the US title and Andrade and Mello and just I think you can kind of run with it.
Yeah, 1000%. And I also love what you said, Shard, about Zelina Vega as well. Why don't we put Andrade and Zelina Vega back together after this feud? Why not have Melo win it, right? Have him win this feud, make him look like a star, his first proper feud on the main roster, have him win it, and then Andrade goes, well, something's not working for me, and who can he bring back? Zelina Vega.
We just need to cleanse off of the LWO stuff right now, man.
Yeah.
Like, I love the moment she got against Rhea Ripley. It was beautiful to see. The merchandise sold like hotcakes, but let's wheel these people out of it, man. I think it's time to let some people do what they need to do because it's not doing much.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right there. But now let's go ahead and talk about the WWE Women's Championship picture because we have a situation next week, a tag team match where Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton will be taking on Bayley and Naomi. If Bayley and Naomi win, whoever pins either Nia Jax or Tiffany Stratton to get the win will get a title shot against Nia Jax. But if they lose, whoever takes the pin will be exiled from SmackDown. They'll have to move to Raw, NXT, wherever. They will be gone. Now, this is interesting, right? Because if the aim here was to just get to a triple threat match or something, they could have done what they always do. They could have done a number one contenders match. Maybe Tiffany accidentally interferes, then it ends up being a triple threat match. Easy, would make a lot of sense. They could have even done a fatal four-way or something and put Tiffany in there too and try to make it like a 2v2, but then will they turn on each other with Bayley and Naomi? They could have done something like that. But no, they've done this stipulation. And I am like almost certain that it's going to be Nia Jax versus Bayley at Bad Blood. So I think they're going to win next week, Bayley and Naomi. But that means if Bayley's going to win next week, they're clearly going to have tensions between Naomi and Bayley. Or if Naomi wins, then vice versa. Is the plan here for Bayley to turn heel? Are they going to turn Naomi heel? Are they going to turn someone heel? I don't know, but they clearly must be planning something because it's such a specific stipulation. And that's what kind of confused me about all of this. I mean, Shah, do you have any predictions?
I like thinking outside the box. So I'm going to shoot an idea that is going to be outside the box. I think next week, Bayley should eat the pin. I think Bayley should leave SmackDown. It's something that's risky, but it's something that is needed because I feel Bayley has not ran her course on SmackDown. She got the opportunity to be the champion. They gave her a very decent title reign, to say the least. She did help build someone in Nia Jax who's doing phenomenal work, but I don't know what else is there for Bayley to do on SmackDown. I feel like she's kind of stuck in the mud at the moment. Whether it's changing a character or whether it's changing to go to a different roster, I think it could be meaningful because it's not like the woman's not talented. The woman is very talented. It's just we've kind of seen her run the course with the same repetitive feuds, and I want to see her do something different. What I would do is I'd have her lose, and I would have her play defense with the two other shows. I would have her go to NXT. She is one, first and foremost, one of the historical women's champions over there. She did great stuff at NXT. She has one of the greatest women's matches of all time over there. But she loves to compete. Bayley versus Roxanne Perez, Bayley versus Julia, Bayley versus Sol Ruka, Bayley versus Kalani Jordan. Like, she could really do a lot and be a legitimate factor for a short time, kind of like what Becky did a little bit with her short stint. And then I would probably let her do that for a bit and then send her to Raw when we have, the Rhea and Liv feud die out, because I think Bayley would be a perfect feud for either woman, whether she's a babyface going against Liv or whether she goes in back to a heel tactics versus Rhea. I feel like Bayley being utilized in different places at this moment could be meaningful for her. Another idea, maybe have Naomi win, or maybe have Bayley win, like you said, and maybe turn Naomi heel, because in the same juncture, Naomi needs a little bit of a repackage in a sense to make people realize how talented she is. They kind of have let her be the happy go loving character, and Naomi's amazing. I love Naomi so much, but it'd be cool to see her do something a little different. I would rather see her go heel than I would rather see people want Bianca Belair to go heel, because it'd be so different. And I think Naomi is talented enough where it would be cool to see. But we'll probably not get either of those because they don't like listening to me.
I mean, I like to see it for sure because it would just be different. It would, throw everybody off a little bit. And also, this Charlotte Flair we can't forget about too. Perhaps they get Bayley out of the way and then they introduce Charlotte Flair. That's a possibility as well. Bobby Petito says Bayley versus Jordan Grace would be a nice match as well. I'd absolutely love to see that match.
Bayley versus any woman on that NXT roster is something that you can just inject in my veins because I want to watch it really badly.
That's true. And I actually agree with Chris Leclerc here. He's saying that fans love Naomi. Turning her heel won't work. I mean, there's always a way to turn somebody heel and to make it work. But I don't think the issue right now is her being a face. I think the issue is how she's been booked.
Then have her win and make her a viable competitor for Nia Jackson. That's the other way to go. But we can't forget, Miss Money in the Bank is over there ready to cash in.
That's true.
Get to the tippy top.
There is no doubt about that. I mean, Anthony, what's your entire thoughts about this entire women's title picture right now?
Honestly, I like the stipulation because that's outside the box. We haven't seen that in a long time, and we have not seen it under the Triple H era on what he could possibly do with this. I agree with Shad. Bayley makes a lot of sense to take the pinfall because you can kind of have her float on NXT. You can have her float on Raw. You can even have her float on TNA, where she's a hot free agent. And that would be, we haven't really seen that with women's wrestling. We've seen that with the guys. We've seen it with Punk. We saw it with Orton. We saw it with them. We have not seen it with a woman. And I think Bayley would make a lot of sense. Bayley against Jordan, like Bobby mentioned, was a thought that I had because you can kind of run with that. And with TNA having their Bound for Glory coming up in October, you might want to do that. That's a direction you can possibly go. Do Bayley against Jordan if you want. The other thought that I had was, and I definitely think the heels will win. I just don't know whether or not it's going to be Bayley or Naomi taking the pin. If Naomi loses, that also tells me, which is a side factor, which I don't think anybody's thinking about. That means she's probably going to Raw, and so is Jimmy, because they're not going to break up the spouse. So if they're putting her on Raw, it would make sense Jimmy would go with them to reform with Jay, which if they're doing that to keep them away from the bloodline to eventually do something with it, that may be the reason. The reason may be to get Naomi to Raw because they want Jimmy to go to Raw. There's always another side piece that they're moving to get somewhere else. I think that's a possibility.
That is a great shout, no doubt about it. I'm not entirely sure if I can see it happening, but I definitely don't think it's out of the question, especially if what you said earlier on, that, perhaps they want to do like a makeshift team for War Games this year instead of having the Bloodline versus the OG Bloodline. Perhaps that is the way that they go, but then the question is, how do you get Jimmy over to Raw?
Well, he's been out with the injury, and because
that's true.
I mean, let's be honest. They don't exactly respect the brand.
No, they could just do it.
I mean, the poster for Raw on Netflix has the Bloodline all over it. They're not Raw talent, so it's not like they have exactly honored the rule of the brand split. I mean, in what world is Roman's like he's exempt from a draft? Like, they make up these rules as they want to go. I don't have an issue with it as a whole because I'm like, whatever makes a great story. I don't really care. But when they make it such a point of going, no one could go on this. People are going back and forth to shows all the time. NXT is kind of like the Switzerland where everyone's invited. They don't get NXT doesn't really follow the rules of any of that, but you would think, there's a plan. I'm assuming
you'd hope so.
I would assume Naomi is a bigger piece if they went Naomi. If they go Bayley, it makes sense. Bayley kind of needs a fresh start. She really does. So, or they could swerve us all together and go during the match. Tiffy cashes in and ends the match because she pins Naomi.
Ooh.
And
That would be
actually,
crazy.
And actually, last thing, that may be the smart move. If she turns on her and pins Nia and wins the title, technically she took the pin, which means that would ship her to Raw and keep her away from Tiffany. Technically, am I not mistaken?
No, It's only if Bayley
deals
and
with the
Naomi
other
get
two.
pinned.
No, I get that, but if she hit her with the briefcase and she gets pinned and then she pins her again, that gets her off the show.
No.
If she hits her with the briefcase and Naomi or Bayley pins her, that sends Nia to Raw, right?
Nah, it only has to do. It
nah.
only deals with.
It's only the other
stipulation
team.
is only with Naomi and
No,
Bayley.
but during the it only affects them.
Yeah, it's only them. Yeah,
that would make sense though.
Yeah, that would be the biggest shock ever. Then Nia mid-match.
I'm curious when this cash-in is going to happen, because I feel like
WrestleMania.
doing it on a. You think it's going to be WrestleMania?
Could well be.
You think they're going to hold back though? Okay.
I think it's going to be a long run because they've spent money on this briefcase.
I got to see what the women's War Games match is going to be too, because I don't feel like there's a set feud that is even looking in that direction.
No idea. I have no idea at all.
I mean,
oh no, of course there is. There is. Raw. People won't like it, but what's it called?
The shield of women's wrestlers and then
the MMA group.
Pure Fusion
Collective. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. They're building something up there now, aren't they? And I reckon a few more people will get involved. They'll get it to a 5v5 somehow, or even a 4v4 like they did last year. But that's what I think they'll do that.
Them and Unholy Union.
That actually could well happen. That's not even like I could see that happening. But that does bring us to the end of the show, guys. Bobby Batista says NXT bring in TNA talents as well. They absolutely do. Chris Leclerc says he doesn't want Bayley to leave SmackDown. Fair enough. We'll have to wait and see. I don't suspect her or Naomi will leave. I think, one of them is going to get the win next week, but it's where this is leading. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Anthony and Shad for joining me here today. We will be back same time, same place tomorrow for a little bit of Sunday Fun Day. We'll see you guys then. Bye.